Welcome everyone to this workshop today. I'm really excited for this one because we've been doing a couple of these before at Pivot. We did one on digital marketing last time, helping people understand how they can get started in the marketing field. We got some good traction, but honestly, we were blown away by the response we got for UX UI design. I think I was talking to Anuja about this earlier today. So clearly, there's a lot of demand for this particular field out there. A lot of people are looking to get into UX UI design. So where I will start is just by introducing a little bit about myself and what we are doing at Pivot, and then also, then share about Anuja, you and Charu as well. So for those who don't know, I'm the founder and CEO in Pivot, and we started this career tech platform last year, primarily to focus on helping people make smoother career transitions from one field or role to another. We also help people who are just starting out in their careers and looking to land their desired role. There are a couple of different things that we do compared to most of the other career tech platforms out there, which we will discuss during the course of this workshop. But that's enough about us. I want to now talk about Charu first a little bit. So Charu, your bio, that we have shared with everybody, it's very interesting. And I would love to understand more from you about it. It reads that you're a product and systems designer for consumer and enterprise domains, and you currently lead the design for incubation products at Microsoft. So there are a lot of words in there, which might seem to confuse people a little bit. Do you want to share more about exactly what you do at Microsoft currently?
Sure. Yeah. So in simple words, I'm working. I'm a lead designer on an incubation project. So when we say incubation, meaning that apart from the products which are pretty established out there in the market, which you use from Microsoft, there are a couple of products which we experiment with, like a couple of very new ideas which we are like building from scratch, growing it in them into product which users can use out there. So that is the kind of like, it's pretty much in a very initial stages of product. So it's more like an idea, so which we are building, and currently I'm a design lead on that. So that is what incubation projects mean. Otherwise, previously when I say enterprise and consumer products, meaning like I've had experience designing products which you use for your personal use, meaning consumer products, or even like which products which are used by businesses which are more enterprise in nature. So all the softwares business can use to like run their process better. So that is what like I've been working on till now. So I hope that clears that out.
Yeah, no, sounds fascinating. I'm excited to get into the details later on. And then Anuja, we'll just talk briefly about you as well. So you're currently leading UX UI design as a consultant for Genpact. And it shows that you have previously made a transition from engineering to this field, and you have also worked in graphic design. This is literally our bread and butter, so I am really thankful that A, you are here, and B, that we can talk about how transitioning from, engineering, or for that matter, any other field outside of design to design can be slightly different for people compared to like college graduates or freshers, right, who have been thinking about that as their career goal from day one. But yeah, you want to share any highlights, from your career?
Sure. So I started working in 2011 when I completed my engineering and I joined Infosys as a trainee. For almost 4 years, I have worked as a developer. And that's when I was working on the whole process of gathering the requirement, understanding it, designing it, coding it, helping the testers in the testing process, then deployment, and then the UAT where the production is already done and I'm supporting the production part too. Which actually gave me the idea that, okay, these are all the process that you follow for a product to come in market. And the design process actually was very fascinating to me. But since I come from a very small town, I had no idea that design can also be a career choice. So that's when I decided that, no, I want to do something in design, and I changed my career. I went to a college. I studied design in all different fields that was possible, like print design, UI, UX, motion design, filmmaking, everything. And then I started working as a graphic designer. And during that time, I have actually made a film. I have shown that film in UK, and I've done all the things possible. But since I come from a development background, I knew that UI UX is something that gives me an edge of how a product works, how different platforms are able to support different technologies, are able to support what kind of design and all. And that's how I transitioned into a UI UX designer. So while we were working
Got
together
it.
in Mercer, I remember I was working as a graphic designer, but also a part of me was into UI UX process. And that's how I
Mhm.
started. And the best part was I got an opportunity to work with a startup in the starting phase of my career in UI UX. So that time it's
Mhm.
kind of a plain canvas. You do everything from start to the end. So that gives you an idea of what's happening, how you can bring a particular product which is like very fresh to the market. So that's how I actually transitioned into the designing portfolio.
Very cool. Very cool. Thanks for that background. So, I want to dive right into it. And I think just to kind of ease this discussion into the heavy stuff that we are going to get into later on, I just want to start with something fairly basic, right? What I said earlier, which is there's clearly a lot of demand for UX, UI design talent out there, right? I mean, there are startups, obviously, that's the number one kind of organizations who are looking for this talent. Then you have a lot of your typical mature IT organizations like Genpact and all who are looking for this talent. You also have just traditional businesses who have nothing to do with tech as their core business, also requiring UX UI design talent to do their websites and those kind of things. So there's clearly a lot of demand. But if you were to just take, let's say, a 10,000 feet view in the beginning, right, of this field, I just want to understand from your insider's perspective, like what are some of the driving forces within the design field right now, and some of the in-demand skills, apart from the basic stuff that we hear about a lot. So wireframing, prototyping, all this stuff has been there, is very important. But apart from that, I've been hearing about skills like doing a lot of UX research, UX writing, content design, those kind of things as well. So just want to kind of tee up this whole discussion by taking a high level view. So maybe Anuja, you want to go first?
Sure, I'll start. Charu should jump in that soon.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll go over to Charu as
So
well.
what I feel is right now there's a lot of data on every platform you visit. What's making UI UX very important is a personalized view. Like even if I go on Netflix, I would not want to see everything that's there because there's a lot of data. But I would want to see what fascinates me. Like if I'm into mystery, I like the personalized view of it, that okay, it suggests me all the series that's from that genre and all those things. So that's actually has given a boom to UI UX right now, and that's something I believe is bringing up, and now people are actually understanding why that field is so important slowly.
Mm-hmm. Got it. So I mean, your point is basically around like a lot of personalization rather than kind of generic designs which are one size fit all. Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. So Charu, yeah, I mean, maybe just turning it over to you, just want to understand the same thing. Like, where do you see the future of design industry going? What are people really talking and focusing on?
Yeah, I think that's a great point which Anuja brought in, and really interesting because we see a lot of, like, in any domain you see today, there are so many products out there, and they're all competing. They all have strong technology to support and everything, but the user experience gives them the edge, right? So like how easy is it for users to just onboard and like get what they want to do, get done with it, is what makes makes them stick to that product. And of course that's beneficial for the business at the end of the day. So that's why, I mean, yeah, there is huge, I would say, like competitiveness around like user experience among different products today. And that is why there is a huge demand for designers. And earlier, back in the days, design was just limited to, hey, make some wireframes and prototypes and all of that. But now it is like, it is literally, like design is pretty much the starting point of any product thinking process nowadays. Like like in the teams we work in, I'm sure that's same for Anuja. But like, where it's not earlier, like design used to come at the end when everything is finalized, and designers were just supposed to, like, say, create these 5 set of screens. But now things have like turned the other way around, and like we are pretty much start from the beginning, where you have to get the user needs and get user insights and explore what can we do, and a lot of that is you kind of start from the beginning. So yeah, I think things are really looking good.
Yeah, that. So since we have Indian audience, I think you'll back me up on this, Charu. If you want to see that kind of personalized experience, I think Book My Show is one of the best app you can see. From the start, they launched online. They simply had few screens, but slowly the process of their transition into the design, that has actually brought up a very personalized experience. Once you go scan your QR code, the screen goes up, it shows you your screen, your seat numbers and everything. And it actually asks you, do you want to put your mobile on a silent mode during the movie time? And those kind of personalized things actually help. So that's really amazing. I actually make case studies about Book My Show. That's something I enjoy a lot. So.
Okay. So that sounds interesting. I mean, both those are two key themes that you both have pointed out. One is obviously personalization. The other is, design is as a whole, as a function, is kind of gaining more importance within, businesses, strategic initiatives, where they are not just considering it as a nice to have, but rather as more of a, strong business requirement to drive their strategy, right? So if we were to now just focus a little more about the skill landscape within UX UI design, right? Again, we have shared a couple of these core skills: wireframing, prototyping, which has been there, will be there. These are the bread and butter. I just want to understand, like, what kind of skills within design do you both see that are gaining more and more importance, perhaps within wireframing, prototyping, but apart from that as well? And anything outside of design, are there any skills outside of core design skills that can be helpful for designers in their work?
Yeah, maybe I can start. So
Sure.
I think in my opinion, like, apart from all the basic skills, you can take some courses online, and even like a lot of colleges or giving product design degrees and all that. So yeah, that is there, but I'm sure like everyone is aware of all the skills which are mentioned on all these courses. Apart from that, I think when you're working practically in real life, I think there are few skills which can like make you stand apart as a designer. I think two comes to my mind. One is definitely storytelling or slash presentation or slash communication, like all of that together. I mean, basically storytelling, I realized that it has become so important, like not just to create, but to be able to persuade your stakeholders and your users. So like how beautifully you tell your story, and how do you persuade, how do you convince your stakeholders, like because as a designer, it's not just that you're creating, but you're also like making sure that you get buy-ins for your what you've made, right? So I think that is very strong skill. The second skill is just to be more aware of like the world around you, because I mean, like everything, if you can learn about like what's going around you, I think everything helps as a designer. be it like knowing about what's going in, I mean, politics, policies, or technology, or like everything. I think mainly you can read everything. It just helps you become more informed as a designer. So I think, yeah, these two things I think stands out for me.
Got it. I mean, these two skills, I would say they are probably fairly important for people across different domains, right? Because if you're anybody who's looking to climb up the career ladder, right, you will be required to kind of present your views in an independent, objective way and be able to make the case for why you are coming up with those opinions, right? But especially as a designer, because there are certain professions I have noticed out there where everybody, whether or not they are an expert or a specialist, they have an opinion on it. And I feel design is one of that, right? I mean, I know within my own team, we have designers and they come to me and they go to others with certain recommendations. And we end up kind of really, throwing water all over it and then redoing it multiple times, even though we have zero design background. So maybe Anuja, you can answer this part, right? I mean, how do designers deal with that kind of feedback when you know yourself that you are the expert, you have made very rational decisions after a lot of research and thinking, but once you actually start presenting it to the senior team members or even your peers, they are all going to provide a lot of conflicting views, right? How do you deal with that?
You're pinching out the right point, actually, Arjun. So, see, when I entered design field, I was actually taught to unlearn whatever I have learned in the technical world, because technically we think practical solutions. But when it comes to design, the most important part is empathy. You need to understand the user of what is their problem. It's not what your problem is. You need to understand what their problem is. So empathy plays a very important role, putting yourself in someone else's shoes and understanding and walking that path. So that's something really important. But at the same time, in the starting, what I have felt is, um, even today, when I know that there is a certain amount of time that I have to work on one project, most of my time is spent, to be using the right word, daydreaming. That क्या problem है, कैसे solution आएगा, क्या होगा, क्यों problem है, all that. Rather than sitting down and working on pen and paper, I keep thinking. So what I have learned is there has to be a stop clock in my mind that, okay, this is what I have to do, and this is the time I stop and work on it. Mm-hmm. And then coming to your question, then when you go and present your solution and someone comes up and tells you, "Nahi, this is what we are not looking for, this is what you have done wrong." So that's where, as a designer, you also need to understand the business. So if I talk about career growth for any designer, you don't see yourself as a project manager. You see yourself as a product manager or a product owner. So to understand how a product works is something a designer will know. But to understand the scope and limitation, that is something a business team will know. So if I know how business is working, I will be able to come up with a solution what they are looking for. So as a designer, I need to balance between both. That this is what my user wants, but this is also something what my business needs. That helps in my career growth and also helps in the business and less of redo work.
Got it.
I've done that in the previous projects, so very fresh in my mind.
Yeah, I think just to like add, I think it's a great point, and it just reminds me something one of my mentors told me. So she told me, like, whenever she attends a good presentation by a good product manager, they always talk about design, right? And when they attend a good presentation by a designer, they always talk about like business success metrics. So basically, I think, yeah, it just sums up that.
Got it. Yeah, no, I think, no function kind of exists within a vacuum in and of its own, right? You have to align your function with whatever the larger organizational goals are. And as a designer, especially for tech-centric businesses, I think it's probably all the more critical to be able to align your work with whatever the end goals are for the organization. So I think, that's a lot of valuable insights there. Anuja, thanks for sharing that, and Charu as well. I just want to segue to the next thing that we were going to focus on, given, we framed this discussion as how to kickstart your career in UX UI, right? One of the first things that people have asked us who are thinking about a career in design or related space is, I don't really have much experience, like practical experience within design. And I know when I'm applying for roles, one of the things that everybody asks for is my portfolio, right? Now, if I haven't really worked as a designer at another company, how can I develop a solid portfolio that I can showcase to them, with regard to my skills and expertise within design? So, yeah, I mean, that's kind of like the focus of this next topic, which is how do you develop a great portfolio, both in general, as well as if you haven't really worked as a professional designer already within an organization. Feel free, either one of you, whoever wants to go first.
All right, I'll take this up first.
Sure.
So if you see my Behance portfolio, there is no project that I've done for a company, because usually when you work with a company, you have to sign an NDA that you don't showcase the work that you have done before.
Mm-hmm.
Like what you do, what I do for Genpact is something I cannot showcase publicly, because they don't tell you what client they work for. So my portfolio will always have personal projects. So my suggestion is, no matter what project you do, whether it is good, whether it is bad, make sure you put it up on your Behance, because Behance is like a storytelling platform that I started from this stage. And this is the worst portfolio, worst project that I have done. But slowly when I started working, when my work improved, this is the current project where I have reached till now. And you showcase your improved work slowly. So every project that's on Behance for me is my personal project. Whenever I got some time, whenever I saw some problem statement being discussed within the team and all, and that's all I showcase there. So I don't think, if you don't have any previous experience, you can still learn online, see different portfolios, see different projects on different Behance profiles, and then create your own work on your own projects and publish that.
Got it. Charu, your thoughts?
Yeah, I think, adding to that, like, I think from my experience, when I started off, I didn't have, I wasn't studying UX at that time, so I was in a graphic design student. Not even graphic design, I was doing communication design, but I kind of had an interest in, at that time, we just knew web design as a thing, so I kind of had interest in that. So I started taking up a lot of like freelance projects. So I would get like paid really less, but it was like, I was like, I just want to do some work to, show it to my clients and get more clients. So I didn't even think about a job, but that was like one thing which helped me a lot. Like by the time my graduation ended, I didn't even go for my placements, like college placements. I just got something through my portfolio, and that was all because of the freelance projects I'd done. So I think that had always helped me just to get a good head start. So if I would suggest, like, if you're getting any clients, or even if you're getting to work on a volunteer basis, or like with a small startup, or like any sort of freelance stuff, take it up and do that. It gives you like a practical sort of thing, thing in your portfolio. Of course, as Anuja mentioned, personal projects you can take up, like you can redesign some of the things you use and you think that can be better. You can rethink something in a very different way. So yeah, take some of these kind of problem statements, and you can design a personal project. So I think, yeah, a combination of these two is, I think, good enough to enter design. field. I mean, yeah, I think that's good that design industry is one where you do not like, we're not so stuck with like degrees and colleges, that, right? So we're pretty open-minded like that. So yeah, I think
Got it. So yeah, just a follow up to that is, these are all great suggestions, kind of, doing freelancing work, doing your personal side projects, maybe even like volunteering for early stage startups who might really need, designers. The other thing is, I think Anuja, you mentioned this about, putting your portfolio on Behance, which is obviously for, again, people who don't know, that is the #1 website for designers to share their work and let people find them in case they want to collaborate, right? So are there any other kind of platforms apart from Behance that you would suggest might be helpful for people to look at? And even if let's say, there are probably some people in this room who may not have used Behance, is there any specific approach you would recommend on getting started with Behance?
See, the other website that I usually go and refer to is Dribbble. Behance and Dribbble is my go-to website for the design inspirations that I'm looking for, or something I want to browse in my free time is something I do. But to start with, I think you just need to go look at few projects, how they are putting up their work, because when you're doing the UX projects, more than the final design, the process matters a lot. So for every project that a UX designer is putting up there, they do a process of defining the problem statement, why there it is, then understanding the user, then every step actually matters. And at the end comes the wireframing and prototyping and the final design screens. So I think the best way is actually to go through some projects and understand what the process they follow, and then start putting up your work in place.
Got it. So it seems like you just have to sort of figure it out for yourself, because it's not a very complicated process. You can get inspiration from other folks' work out there.
At the end, UX research is the key. As much as you research, as much as you read, like Charu said, no matter what field, every field actually gives you an idea for your upcoming project. So no matter, even if it's politics, you might be working on some project which will talk about some upcoming policies, and you have to design something for that. So you will have a step ahead if you know what's happening in the world right now. So that helps a lot.
Got it. And Charu, anything you want to add to that? Otherwise, we'll move on to the next
I think, I mean, in my opinion, I think platform is secondary. Nowadays, I've seen people put things on Medium as well as case studies and all. You can be like, you can like write it like an article and it's, go crazy and be creative with that. And so I've seen like people trying multiple ways. I've had a PDF portfolio. Sadly, I've never gotten time. I have a Behance portfolio as well, but it's very old. So if you'd want to like check out like where I started off, you can check my Behance portfolio. It's quite old, but recently I've just been documenting things on PDF. But I've been looking at a lot of like recent portfolios because being involved in hiring, and also I see people using like even Figma links, sharing portfolios on Figma, sharing portfolios on Medium. Some are using Notion. So I think these are all pretty good platforms you can explore. And honestly, platform is secondary, but it's all about like what is easy for you to start with. And a lot of them are free, actually. Most of them are free. So that's also pretty good. So it's all about just starting out. So.
Got it. Okay. So, again, the next thing is probably going to be at the heart of this whole workshop, which is really how do you identify the right jobs, and how do you actually sort of break into the field, get your foot in the door? Because, obviously there are a lot of jobs out there on job portals, right? Even like LinkedIn and Naukri and all these have designer jobs, but there's just so much competition out there. you probably receive hundreds of applications for one opening, right? So what kind of job search strategies within the design field specifically have you seen work? I personally have been hearing, a lot more people trying to achieve referrals or cold mailing people on LinkedIn or other platforms, and actually creating like, free strategy decks, like design decks for that specific company. Sometimes some of them have even gone viral, and those kind of things have happened. So there is a lot of, new age job search kind of approaches that are out there apart from your typical job portal, right? What are you guys seeing, and what would you recommend to somebody who's just starting to, their job search process, basically?
Yeah, so I think yeah, you mentioned a lot of them. So cold emailing, and we also, like, there are so many like networking this thing, like events which happen. I mean, you can be a part of that. Nowadays everything is virtual, and so that's great. Like, you don't need to be there physically. We also, I think, well, I've seen that at least like bigger companies conduct a lot of competitions to hire
Okay.
like designers. I mean, Microsoft recently we do every year. We host like 2 competitions every year, and most of, like, I think top 5 or some winners. I'm not sure exact number, but they get hired. So like, yeah, there are a lot of these. You can keep an eye on that. Of course, reaching out to key people, like, I mean, reaching out to people who are very like loud and, out in the community, design community, that helps. But always, like, do reach out with a portfolio which is easy to access. I think that just solidifies your case, adds more credibility. What else? Yeah, I think also, like, I mean, nowadays there is, I mean, not just your job portals, right? Like, you have a community which is active on, like, as in LinkedIn, Twitter, even like Behance, right? So all of that you can leverage.
Right.
Like, my first internship, which I got in Adobe, because, I mean, in our college it was mostly like um, uh, clothing brands which used to come. I didn't want to work there, so I reached out to a person in Adobe on Behance, and I sent them, because like on Behance you automatically get your portfolio attached to it, and I got immediately got like a call for an interview, and it was like, yeah, it pretty much worked well. So I think reaching out to the right people is important. And yeah, I'd say, yeah, that has, I think, I've seen working well.
Okay, got it. And Anuja, like, tell me a little more about, like, your transition journey that we are talking about as somebody who worked in engineering. What were some of the ways that you really, got your foot in the design door, and how did your job search for those kind of roles look like?
All right. So starting 4 years, I have worked as a developer with IBM. And when I went to college to do my post-graduation in design field, I was lucky enough that my faculties, whoever were teaching me there, they were running a studio. So
Okay.
they knew that I have work experience, and that's the reason I started interning with them. So for the 2 years when I was doing my college, I was also working with them part-time. So that actually gave me an idea of what's happening in the market and how things work. But most of that work was into graphic design and
Okay.
every other field, like even UI UX, graphic design, including print media, banner making, everything, even video editing, everything was there. So I got a chance to explore all the fields. And
Okay.
slowly I understood that since I have a background of development, UI UX gives me an edge of understanding how things are working, and also gives me a better understanding of the developer. So the kind of conversation I have with a developer in the team is a little different from what other designers will have, because I will know how JavaScript is working. I will know what CSS things and what all HTML they are using and what is possible in this particular technology. So that actually gave me an idea. And one thing that actually helped me is talking about design on LinkedIn. So I remember I was in Gurgaon and a startup from Bangalore connected with me because they saw my work, which I was posting on Behance and posting about it on LinkedIn, along with few topics that I was talking about design on LinkedIn profile of mine. So they saw what I was doing and what my work was all about. And somehow I did not drop them a mail. I did not send them my resume, nothing, but they just connected with me asking that if I'm looking for an opportunity in Bangalore. And since I was dying to move to Bangalore that time, I just jumped on that opportunity. So that also helps a lot. So networking is something, yes, I always stand by it. Networking is something helps because it's not a very big community. People are very nice, very warm. You can talk to anyone anytime you want, and they're always very welcoming. So you should talk to them, know what's happening, what they are doing, and that helps.
Got it. Got it. Yeah, so it seems like, apart from your typical job boards that you can apply on to, you can also leverage networking, one-on-one outreach to people at different companies. You don't have to kind of feel like you need to know them only to reach out to them, right? That's an important one because I feel a lot of people hesitate to, do that one-on-one outreach. And I feel like one of the things that I see a lot is when people are reaching out, they don't have a very specific kind of an ask, or they might just say, hello, I'm looking to get into UX UI design. Can you help me? Which is a fairly generic question, right? So is there a specific kind of communication strategy when you're reaching out to people on LinkedIn and doing cold emails? Just briefly, if you think something that might help people within the audience today. Charu, you want to take that one?
Sure. Yeah. So I think yeah, I think I've seen a lot of these messages and emails, and I have personally myself also done that previously in my career, and fortunately that worked out well. So I believe that like there's some things you can do. One thing is I suggest always attach a link to your portfolio. It just like like otherwise it's all fluffy words and nothing. So like I mean, because like we are designers, we think like that, we want to see your work as well. So do attach a portfolio. A lot of times people attach portfolios which are like the links doesn't work, it's not updated, there is some password and all of that. So take care of all those frictions that shouldn't happen. And as you mentioned, be very specific. That's important. Like what exactly are you reaching out for is important. Like if you can keep an eye on the requirement of a particular company role or whatever, and be very specific about what you're looking for. I think that does help. And like if you are interested in something particular, then like that is that's sorry about that, that's interesting for the other person as well to like read. And the third thing is maybe add a little bit about your background, but not like, I mean, keep it very crisp. I would say nobody wants to read a long story, but if you have like one or two highlights about your career, even if you don't have a long design experience, maybe it's what led you to transition into design, or maybe it's like some volunteer work you did, some competition you participated in, like anything like which is the highlight of your career, to add that. So I think these few things can work out. Like mostly I prefer, I think this sounds good. If I have gotten such a message, I'd most likely reply and take it forward.
Got it. That's very helpful. So if I was to summarize, basically, it sounds like you share a little bit about your career highlights, right? So the person knows who they are speaking with. You share your portfolio of work, highlighting your best work, and make sure that it works. All the links are working, passwords, etc. and you reach out with a very specific kind of an ask so that the reader is not lost as to why you reached out to them. Okay, I think that that sums it up pretty well. We have a lot of questions here that we've been getting from the audience members, so I don't want to keep them waiting for too long. We also got some questions before we organized the workshop, so we have quite a few questions to handle here. So the first one that I'm looking at is from Rana, and they're asking, I'm currently getting UX design certification from Google and Coursera. Are there any courses or boot camps that you would recommend? I have a background in education, film, and marketing, right? So yeah, I mean, this is a basic question around how do people upskill themselves within design if they don't necessarily want to go to a 1 year, 2 year kind of a degree program. Well, how have you both actually done it? I mean, did you both, get any certifications or join any boot camp to upskill yourself in the field?
Yeah.
Charu, go ahead.
Sure. So I initially I think when I started at that time there weren't a lot of online courses. So I have a degree in communication design from NIF, which is not exactly UX, but then after that I did I think I got an internship from my graphic design portfolio, but the internship was into UX, so that was very helpful. But to upskill myself, I did do some courses on Coursera, which were related to like just learning about UX design process, research, and everything. Then nowadays there are so many courses. I keep taking online courses. Actually, I love online courses. Honestly, I'm always taking one. Because like there's so much of random information out there, so I rather prefer like take one topic and take some online course on that. And of course there are so many platforms, like you can even take very specific classes on like say UX writing or UX research or like just visual design, prototyping. There are just tons of like courses.
Any specific like boot camps or these online courses? Like, I mean, there's so many brands out there, right? You have your Coursera's, Google is providing free certificates. And then you have a couple of India focused ones as well. So out of all of these, how do you decide which one is best for you, especially for a person who, let's assume they don't have a solid foundation in design yet? What would you recommend?
Yeah, I think to start with, the Google's course is pretty good. Like it's a very good foundational course. Then I would say, like, because it covers everything, then I think you can take specific courses. There are lots of them in Coursera, which is like very specific to say UX research, UX writing, UX, wireframing, prototyping, and YouTube. Also, there are tons of like these crash courses on if you want to get into prototyping, and also there's a lot of free things on YouTube. Then then a lot of like these new age tech startups also have courses. I cannot recall, but I think like these are pretty much there, but I keep an eye on what's upcoming, as in like just like basically I do keep checking. There are a lot of like Slack channels and all, so I'm kind of a part of them, so people keep sharing. And I've taken courses outside design also, like just basic writing courses, and like web design courses and all. So I think all of these have helped me. And I think like maybe you can start with that Google course, then go very specific later on.
Got it. So yeah, Anuja, anything from your side? This is a very common question. I'm sure like you've been asked this before. So what are your thoughts? And yeah.
Coursera Google course is really nice that even I started, but I couldn't finish it. But thinking that once you have completed a course in UX design and you're done and dusted, it's never going to work. Every day there's something new coming up. To keep you updated, I would always suggest to be a part of a community. I'm a part of Interaction Design Foundation, IDF, which actually helps a lot. So if you want to get into UX research, there is a very detailed course that happens, and all around the world, the designers are there, top CEOs, everyone who is into design field, who is dealing with those are part of that community. You can connect with anyone, you can know what course they are doing, you can understand anything and ask any question. So IDF is one community that I always suggest. It's very vast, so don't think that you can complete it in a year even. It's like every day, every month, it's getting updated. So I keep learning from that. They have different, so if you want to get into UX research, they have a structure of how and what you learn at what stage. If you want to get into product owner, you have a structure of what all course you do at what stage. So that actually helps a lot. So I highly recommend that part, IDF. And just be a part of the community, even if you don't want to take up the course, because there's a fees to be taking up that course. So if you cannot do that, just be a part and understand. There are good courses on LinkedIn learning platform. There are really nice courses. Even now, they have come up with the structure of defining your career path. If you go and search on LinkedIn, they have a structure of for every course. So last week I was actually looking into becoming a product owner. So they actually had like 5 or 6 courses in line that what all you should take when to enter that field. So that actually helps. So even UX is a part of it. So that helps. And then small bits and pieces of understanding psychology of a user, understanding empathy, understanding design thinking, critical thinking. Those are small topics that's very important, very crucial, but you should always go and take a little bigger course on it and understand in detail.
Got it. That's very helpful. I actually always wondered whether it's these like shorter self-paced courses that are usually helpful for something like design, where you're just getting started from scratch, or should you go to a boot camp which has a few month-long rigorous process and it's a cohort-based course kind of a thing, right? It seems like, based on what you both are sharing, that there are a lot of good self-paced courses as well out there, which can be very helpful in getting a job in design, right? Yeah. Sorry, Charu, were you gonna add something?
No, I think, and also like boot camps are a great way to start as well. I've seen a lot of like students, even like people transitioning from different careers like engineering and even different backgrounds, joining a boot camp sort of thing. So that basically helps you with peer learning, because like, college degrees, I think one plus point of college degrees is the peer learning aspect. So which kind of gets missed out if you just taking online courses. So that way, like cohort-based courses are great, or like any sort of boot camp. So maybe a combination of both is where you can start. And also with peer learning or cohort-based courses, you kind of start building a network, right? Like people. Right. Get to know people. So there are lots of them, choose like the ones which is more suitable, relevant to you. But yeah, I think a pairing of both works.
Great. It's a very comprehensive answer. I like that. The next thing that I want to discuss, and there are a lot of questions we are getting here. One of the things which we were going to talk about but didn't get a chance to, and there is a question on it, is the overall interview process, right, for designers. Can you just maybe walk us through the most common sort of cadence of interview process, once a candidate has applied for a role, and obviously focus on any differences versus most of the other roles out there? Like maybe, if there are any portfolio focused interviews that happen, or other case study specific interviews that might happen. Yeah, either one of you. Anuja, do you want to start on that one?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So once you get a call, it's a general discussion of what you have done till now and what all you're looking for, and all those general questions. Usually there's a step, one step extra when it comes to designers. You're given a design assignment, and there's just a problem statement that's given to you, or every company has a different way of giving you a design assignment. They give you what the problem statement is, they give you what they are looking for, and what are the submission things, like do they want a high fidelity design, do they want screens, do they want wireframing, do they want prototypes only. So that kind of assignment is given to you. Once you complete that assignment, you're given some time of 2 days or 3 days or a week, depending on how long it will take. You submit that, and then the round happens. What has happened with me is discussion on the work that you have submitted. So more about the process of why you came up with that solution, what kind of research you did, what all process have you followed, what are the design research methods you did, and then understanding the solution of how you came up to that. And once you clear that part, that is the crucial part of any design interview. Once you are done with that, then you get the another technical round where they talk about your previous work, what all challenges you have faced. So for that particular interview process, I have a method for myself, which I have defined after a few interviews that I have failed, that I have succeeded, and all that. So yeah. I always have a cheat sheet. So even for this interview, at this workshop, I made a cheat sheet for myself. Always make one for yourself. Include 2 of the best websites or apps that you like, you enjoyed, the reason of why you enjoy that. Mention 2 of the worst experience websites and apps that you have seen. Try to include local and global. Then talk about 2 best projects that you have done, one of the challenges that you have faced and you have failed, one of the challenges that you have faced and you have completed and you have succeeded in completing that challenge, and make a list of all the projects that you have worked on. So usually what happens when you're talking to a person, your mind is going at different places while you're giving an interview. So you don't want to take more time and think about what kind of work I have done with that client, what kind of work I have. So always make a cheat sheet of the list of what all work you have done and keep it with yourself. So that has helped me a lot. And then comes the later discussions of HR and all those things.
Sure. No, that's a great suggestion. I really like that. I mean, I don't know if you bring this cheat sheet to the interview and you're able to refer to it during the interview. But
when you're writing it, it helps. Before the interview, just read it 2-3 times. It will be on your mind. And I have experienced it.
Yeah. No, I like that idea, actually. That's really good. Maybe I should start doing that for if I ever
Who are you interviewing now? Yeah.
Yeah, no, not right now, but you never know. I'll just need to remember this one. But Charu, what are your thoughts? I mean, I think Anuja explained the overall process and the cadence quite well. But do you want to share any thoughts on like what actually helps you stand out when you're interviewing?
Sure. So I think that's interesting hack, Anuja. I think for design, like it's a bit complicated because we don't have like a well-defined curriculum, or like whatever this stuff which these books which you should read and you're prepared for it. So it's not like that. But I'd say like a lot of days nowadays there are a lot of these like mock interview questions, but even that's not a lot. There's not a ton of content, but there is some. So look out for that. Like that, people do put out like mock interview questions. So that's what you can do. Then few things like for you to be prepared of is if you know like which company, right? Like I mean, you're already aware of what company and what role are you going to apply for, or like you're going to be interviewed for, then do like some research on that. Prepare some questions for yourself, like, so that you can also ask the interviewer, based on what you want to know about that role. But yeah, that comes later. I think also so when it's about like design interviews, there are a few categories. Like there are technical, there will be very core role kind of questions, interview, and then there will be some behavioral rounds. So I always see designers facing a lot of challenges when it comes to behavioral rounds. So I think like being prepared with a few stories helps, like stories like, like any point in your career where you were facing some, like any point in your design experience where you were facing some challenges, how did you overcome that, like forming those as in based on your own experience. Have some like these, some of these stories prepared, right? Like you don't have to like prepare fake stories, but whatever from your own projects you did, your own experience, like if you had to learn something, a new skill while you were working on something like a project, or there was something you learned while working on a project that helped you evolve as a designer. All these kinds of insights or stories you should keep prepared so that you can kind of share if you're asked. So most of the times I see people struggle a lot like in these questions. So I think, yeah, this can help like being fully, I think this can help you being more prepared for design interviews.
Okay. We are almost out of time, but I do see a very interesting question here, and this shouldn't take a lot of time. So I just want to ask this. Somebody has asked that, similar to the hackathons that happen for developers, where ultimately companies make hiring decisions based on that. I think one of you already just mentioned that there is something similar that may happen for design roles as well, where companies do these kind of hackathons, competitions. How do you find these hackathons? How do you participate in them?
So I know like from working from my experience, Google does that. Microsoft, we have it every year, I think twice. Adobe has these competitions. So all of these companies, like I know for sure have now, like a lot of startups also do have these competitions. To keep a track of it, one thing you can do is like they all have these design websites, as in Google Design, Microsoft Design, right? And there are some amazing articles also, which like case studies on their own products, so keep an eye on that. Otherwise, like they keep posting there, right, if there are competitions or anything upcoming, so keep a tab on these their websites, mainly. That should help. Yeah.
Perfect. I think that was great advice and a lot of valuable insights here. So really want to thank you both for joining us here today. I hope everybody who joined us had a great session. Just any parting thoughts, anything you either of you want to share, kind of just to summarize the discussion, or something that you feel like might add even more value than you have already provided today? Anuja, go ahead. Why don't we start with you?
I would say start asking questions. As a designer, if you want to understand your user, start asking questions, but have empathy when you ask, and start using different apps to understand what's happening. If you are trying to get into fintech, you should use different kind of banking apps. You should use different kind of loan giving apps like Dhani and anything that's in the market. Start using it, start understanding what's good in it, what's bad in it. Slowly you will understand what is the gap that's there in the market, and how you can help. And before all that, read a lot. Anything and everything. There are design books and there is no end to it. So be ready that you will be learning every day and for whole of your life. It's something really new and really exciting. So you need to read a lot. You need to understand what's happening in the world and start asking questions. So that's something that helps me.
Yeah, love that summary. And Charu, anything from you?
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. And yeah, since most of you are also maybe like transitioning or interested to transition into UX, so I would say start like from seeking best out of each opportunity. I would say like it is very small, but take it up and do the best out of it, like because it's like the network effect keeps growing. So you
Right.
do some good work, then you'll get more opportunities. So yeah, I mean, as like apart from the suggestions Anuja gave, I think make the best out of like or even small opportunities. To start with. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you again, both. I just want to say one last thing to everybody who's in the room today. We know that you're looking to build a career in UX UI design. So after this workshop, what we'll do, you will receive an email from Pivot where we will seek your very valuable feedback on what you thought about this workshop. But more importantly, we will be sharing the profiles of some of the leading industry experts who partner with us to provide one-on-one feedback and guidance to people who want to break into design. So as part of that network panel, we also have Charu and Anuja who conduct these one-on-one sessions periodically to provide very personalized feedback and guidance. So in case you're interested in getting their feedback on your career path or any questions, dilemmas that you're currently facing and you need some breakthrough, feel free to check out our experts' profiles and then schedule one-on-one sessions with them. We will be sharing an email, so just keep a lookout for that. And with that, I just want to thank everybody for joining us. Thanks, Charu. Thanks, Anuja. This was fun. I hope you both had fun as well. And hopefully we'll do some of these again very soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great.
It was great.
Great. All right. Thanks, everyone. Have a good evening. Bye.